Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. So, Black Panther Wakanda Forever just came out, I think last week. Yeah, well, as of this video releasing last week. And because I am black, I am legally obligated to review this movie. So, here we are. Gosh, this is a weird thing for me because if you think about it, Black Panther was technically the first movie I ever reviewed on my channel. Officially, that is. I know the first movie I reviewed way back in 2018 when I created this channel. That is insane. So here we are with the sequel, and I have thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts. Now, I don't know how to basically express these thoughts because it's all over the place. So I'm just gonna give it in the pros, the cons, and other things I noticed in this movie that's neither bad nor good, but also stuff I wish I saw in this movie. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, obviously, I cannot start this review without talking about the production hell this movie went through. As you all know, Chadwick Boseman sadly passed away in 2020 and he lost the battle to cancer. And this was sad because at the time, the script for the movie was already written. And so Ryan Coogler and his writers had to basically redo the entire movie. They had to write from scratch. And let me tell you, it was something crazy. I remember for the build-up to this movie, everyone was saying, oh, Chadwick should be recast, or oh, they should have written another script for the movie, or oh, they should have cancelled this movie. But no, this movie actually went somewhat well. Like, they still hit their 2022 release date. I don't think this movie got pushed back that much. So honestly, I'm honestly surprised as to how well this movie got done, especially after Chadwick's passing. And again, Chadwick's absence really was felt throughout this film. There were a lot of moments in this film where, like, oh yeah, they needed Chadwick for this, but they couldn't. So again, they're working with the best they have, and anything that's related to Chadwick, I will not remove points from this movie because, again, it's really not their fault. They were really trying with the best they had. So, let's start with the pros, shall we? Let's start with what I liked about this movie. For one, the CGI in this movie is great. This is one of Marvel's better looking movies, I think. I don't know the last time a Marvel movie actually looked this good, unless we're counting like Endgame or No Way Home or like The Eternals. But this movie looks really good. I really like the CGI. I really love the underwater stuff, with the whales and the Talocans and whatnot. By the way, there are going to be spoilers in this review. They're going to be mild spoilers, like if whatever I mentioned wouldn't be too big or it won't ruin your experience, but spoilers nonetheless. So if you really want to go into this movie spoiler free, I advise you leave right now. I really like the Talocan city. I do wish we go to explore it a bit more, but I do like the underwater scenes, especially the beach scenes look amazing. It is this one shot towards the finale I just adore. Well, like you have the boat and all the Talocans are swimming towards it. It's like in the trailer, you'll even see it, but like all the Talocans are swimming towards it, like from under the boat. That shot is just beautiful. And of course, I even love towards the climax, we have like these whales launching the Talocans to the boat. Again, this movie looks great. I'll give it that. Another thing I'll give this movie is that the action is pretty cool. Well, towards the second half of the movie. Towards the first half of the movie, there's an issue there. I'll talk about it when we get there. But towards the second half of the movie, the action is really good. I really love the flooding of Wakanda. It's a great action scene. And again, there's not really a lot of Black Panther in this movie, which is to be expected. This movie is about celebrating the legacy of T'Challa and of Chadwick and Black Panther's character he was playing. So I understand that there wouldn't be a lot of Black Panther in this movie, as sad as it is. We don't really get Black Panther till the climax. But then again, some of the action scenes work really well. Again, the flooding of Wakanda works so well because there's no Black Panther. Throughout this whole movie, I was wondering how they're going to make it entertaining if we don't have someone in the suit. But the flooding of Wakanda proved me wrong. It is such a good action scene. And again, they have some really good comedy in there. The flooding of Wakanda is really great. And I even love the climax. The climax is so cool because basically the heroes win by employing villain tactics. Again, the whole climax is basically the heroes going into the villain's lair and then capturing the main leader of the villains, weakening him, basically putting him in a torture chamber, and then planning to kill him. That's what a villain would do. Because in most superhero stories, the superheroes would always like defend their city or defend their home. But no, this time they're going on the offensive. When's the last time you saw a superhero movie do that? So major props for that. A lot of people were complaining that the climax, though, was a bit anticlimactic. Like, the fight between Shuri and Namor wasn't that great, or it didn't last that long. I found it to be fine. Maybe it was because I kind of saw it was a bit predictable, but I found it to be fine. I didn't have a lot of issues with it. Of course, I could do with more Black Panther in a Black Panther movie, but, like, I'm not complaining here. And let's talk about the acting, because I don't think we can get through this review without talking about the acting. From the trailers alone, I knew they were going all out with this movie. And I really love the way, I swear to God, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the actors' names, the actresses' names, I guess. It's a mostly female movie. But I could not remember the name of Shuri's actress. She did a good job. However, weirdly enough, she's also the weakest part of this movie for me. I was going to say that her acting was the one that's a bit off, but no, that's not the case. It's the fact that everyone else was doing such a good job that Shuri to me was the one who was like doing the least amount of work. Her character is fine. It's just the actress behind it. I was like, girl, you have some competition here. You gotta step it up. But I love Okoye's actress. She puts such a good energy to this role. And honestly, like, this is my favorite MCU stuff that Okoye has been in. I'll talk about Okoye's character later, but I loved her so much in this movie. And of course, we have Queen Ramonda, played by Angela Bassett, who I swear, if I messed up her name, forgive me. But yeah, she does the best acting in this movie. It is so powerful and so good. It's like they actually got like an African queen to be in this movie. Like, again, watch the trailers. You can see they use a lot of her dialogue in the trailers, and for good reason. Her and Okoye's actresses do the 110% for this movie. In fact, I even think Cocomelon Variety Hour said it best.
And of course, many people have said it, but Angela Bassett is going absolutely fucking nuts in this movie. She is acting like she's gonna go bankrupt if this movie tanks. She is very, very good in this movie.
And honestly, I could not word it better myself. The acting in this movie is honestly top notch. And of course, because I am Kenyan, I have to mention our Lord and Savior Lupita Nyong'o giving us the representation we deserve. There we go. There's your shout out. And yeah, no, I can't really complain. Even Nemo's actor, he does such a good job in this movie. You can tell he's fully immersed in the role. Honestly, on an acting front, I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's perfect all around. And of course, let's talk about the characters the actors are playing, of course. My favorite characters in this movie are, of course, Ramonda. Again, her acting just speaks for itself. And Okoye. However, one thing I would mention about Okoye, and this kind of falls into the cons, is that I do wish we got more of Okoye as a fallen soldier. I'll talk about this when I get to the cons, but we had so much good Okoye content in the first half of the movie that when it came to the second half, it's weird how she barely does anything. And yeah, I'm not even gonna talk about the Midnight Angel armor. That's a story for another day. But yeah, Okoye, I really loved her in the first half of the movie, and then in the second half of the movie, she like disappears for a good chunk of it. I'm so upset. I wish we got more of her. You know it's good when I want to see more of a character. Of course, Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o, I have to mention her, and Nemo. I really like Nemo as a character. I do have some issues with him though, some issues that do hold him back from being one of the best MCU villains, but I do like the way he was handled, and I like the fact that this movie made him cool. I was so worried that the winged feet were gonna be kind of silly, or people were gonna make fun of this movie because of the winged feet. Because you know, one thing about me is that I really like it when movies do embrace the weirdness of the comics. They're very strange nature of the comics. That's the thing. Comics are supposed to be creative. They're supposed to have the weirdest, most random ideas, and I really love it when movies go the extra mile to adapt those. And so when I heard that Nemo was going to be the main villain of this movie, I was worried they were going to cut out the wing feet, but no, they brought them in and they made them cool. Very few people I know are actually calling the feet ridiculous. So again, thumbs up to this movie. But yeah, again, I still have issues with Nemo that do hold him back from being as cool of a villain as Killmonger, for example. And of course, Shuri's arc. I really like how the arc they gave Shuri in this movie isn't just, oh, she's T'Challa 2.0, she's exactly like her brother. No, she's a completely different character. She's a completely, they make her own person. They give her her own journey to go on. And I really like how she's even on the verge of becoming a supervillain. Like, watching this movie, I'm like, is this a supervillain origin story? Are we going to have a villain Black Panther? I really like how they handle Shuri's character in this movie. And of course, I really love the end where she's like burning her clothes and remembering T'Challa. And she actually emotes and cries, which for a Marvel movie is beyond amazing for me. This is like progressive on a whole other level, because for some reason Hollywood has it ingrained in their heads that whenever they need to write a strong female character, she must not have any emotions whatsoever. She must be this walking piece of beating up people, walking piece of action, whatever. But they actually gave their female characters emotions and arcs to go on. Freaking finally! Oh my god, this movie is actually really good. But I cannot in good conscience talk about this movie without mentioning some of the cons. For one, this movie has severe pacing issues, especially in the first half of the movie. In the first half of the movie, we get introduced into like 5 different subplots that we all have to follow. And let me tell you, it's a challenge following them all and jumping from like place to place to place. Like, it starts off fairly easy, fairly understandable, but then once we get that time skip, it's all over the place. And it takes a while to bring us back to normal and get us to at least understand what's happening in the movie. Not to mention, this movie is like 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but it feels like a 3 hour movie. This movie feels longer than it is, and I have no idea why. I don't know if it's because scenes are just drawn out or they couldn't pace it properly, but there was a serious pacing issue in this movie. I'm glad they got fixed towards the end when some plot holes were getting, tied up or joined together. But in the first half of the movie, it was atrocious. Another issue I have is that Nemo is not very smart. Again, I really love Nemo. I really love the actor behind him, but I have some issues with him that just don't make him a very good villain, or at least a very great villain, a memorable one. It's because he's not very smart as a villain, and I don't think it was intentional, because they do show Nemo to be very capable, so I don't think how they were writing this movie made it intentional. And mind you, I've only seen this movie once, and the fact that I picked up on it immediately is bad. But Nemo's whole thing in this movie is that he wants to kill Riri Williams, the scientist who made like this vibranium-seeking machine. And immediately you can see a problem with that, is that why would he bother killing the scientist? It doesn't make sense. I mean, the machine is already built, and the CIA and the Americans are already using it. Who's to say that they don't have backup files, or they don't have blueprints of the machine? What would killing Riri do in that sense? What would he accomplish? And let's say that, okay, fine, she's the only one who can build it that fast. What's to say that the Americans don't have another scientist? Like, Bruce Banner exists. There are other scientists like that exist in the MCU. Again, what's the guy who plays? Who's the guy Michael Douglas plays? Oh crap, I'm forgetting his name. Ant-Man, the old Ant-Man. Why couldn't they get him to build a machine? Like, there's so many scientists in the MCU that killing one of them should seem inconsequential. Like, at best, Nemo's plan here would be holding the Americans off by like a couple months. At best. What is your plan here, my guy? It's not very logical, I'll tell you that. Another issue I have with Nemo is that towards the end of the movie, when he and Shuri are fighting, like, the whole crux of the movie is to get Nemo as far away from the water as possible. That way you can weaken him. But like, when he blows up the ship that he and Shuri are in, and Shuri's like knocked out for a good couple minutes, he could have used that time to go back to the water. Like, the ocean is literally like 2 feet away from them. It's like right there. He could just dip in the water for a bit and then come back and beat Shuri. But no, he decides to beat Shuri up and continuously like wail on her and have like this fight between them, allowing her to beat him. My guy, the water was right there. Like, he only decides to go to the water after his energy has been severely depleted. Like, the water was right there. What was stopping you from going in it and helping your people or beating up Shuri fast? You had so much time on your hands. Mind you, he's the one who laid the punch first. He had so much time on his hands, yet he decides to still stay back and fight. What is happening? Why are you doing this? This movie could have been over in a completely different way if you were just smart. A big issue I somewhat have with this movie is the Martin Freeman stuff. Look, I love Martin Freeman. Again, a great actor out there. I loved him playing Bilbo, all that stuff. Martin Freeman's a cool guy, and I loved him in the first Black Panther movie. But like, he was so unnecessary in this movie. Like, his story could have been cut and nothing would have changed. We did not need this movie to be 2 hours, 40 minutes. Like, the Martin Freeman stuff literally was only there just so we could have Val still introducing her Dark Avengers project, which we could do in like any other Marvel show. Again, love Martin Freeman, but his story could have been completely cut out and nothing would have changed. Like, it doesn't even get a proper resolution by the end of the movie. So like, what was even the point of watching it, So yeah. And again, I did mention Okoye a bit earlier. One of my main problems with Okoye, or at the very least, one of the things I do wish, is that we got to see more of her arc as a fallen soldier. Because like, halfway through the movie, Okoye gets demoted. She gets relieved of her duties as a soldier. And it's a very powerful scene. Because like, these two actresses, again, who are my favorite actresses in the movie, are just bouncing off each other with such great chemistry. And it's a very good scene. Very emotional, very powerful. I just wish we got more of Okoye, like, regretting herself. We get to see her kind of depressed, being like, oh my gosh, I failed my job, I'm a failed soldier. I really wish we got to see more of that in this movie. But no, it gets kind of brushed aside and joked about later on. She's like, I'm a civilian now, I don't really care. Why am I supposed to save people? I'm like, huh? We had such a good scene earlier. What is this? Bring back the other one. I don't know, man. Again, maybe there was a deleted scene or something that they filmed, but they thought it wasn't suitable for the movie. But I would pay good money to just see more of Okoye in that situation of like, I have failed my job, my passion, the one thing I have lived and breathed for. How do I come back from this? It would have been really cool to see that. But no, she becomes a soldier like immediately after the flooding of Wakanda. So like, it doesn't even matter, Another thing you guys will know about me is that when I watch movies and shows, I think about the intent behind them. Why was this thing made, or why did the people who wrote this thing feel like it needed to be shown? And intent is very important when it comes to movies and shows for me. It's one of the reasons why I will never watch The Boys. So I'm looking at the intent of this movie, and I'm seeing this movie clearly was not the movie that they wanted to make. They wanted to make a Black Panther 2, but this movie came off feeling more like Black Panther 1.5. It's yet another origin story, and it's not like a full-on, trudging forward continuation of the original Black Panther. It's more like we need to do a sort of soft reboot so we can get to the actual sequel we want. And again, I'm not gonna dock this movie points for that because again, they really needed Chadwick for the original sequel, but they couldn't. And mind you, they had to do rewrites again. So I'm not gonna dock this movie for it. So I can see the intent behind this movie, and you could tell it's not the movie that they wanted to make, but it's a movie that they had to make. And for that, I respect them so much for it. This movie was meant to be a tribute to Chadwick, and while it's not the Black Panther movie sequel I was hoping to get, I really could not ask for anything better, as they were really working with the best they had in this situation. And I am more than willing to not even forgive them for it, but praise them for it. Because again, they somehow made a compelling movie with just the side characters. This would be like if we got Spider-Man 2, basically, but Tobey Maguire had died in between movies, and so now it was just Spider-Man 2, but we were dealing with MJ, Harry, and Doc Ock. Those are the only characters in the Spider-Man 2 movie, and yet it was still compelling and entertaining. Yeah, so I'll give these guys credit where credit's due. They made a very good and entertaining movie with the little materials that they had. But the ending of this movie did leave me somewhat hopeful. I don't want to spoil it because it's an end credit scene, but the ending of this movie does have something in it that does make me hopeful that we'll actually get the Black Panther sequel that they wanted to make, or at the very least the Black Panther movie that I personally would have been very happy to see. At the very least, it seems that now that they've kind of done a course correction and we're moving forward with the things that they want to, and I'm very happy for that. Cannot wait to see more Black Panther. And now let's move back onto the cons, because I still have a couple more cons to mention. Is that the suits in this movie? Some of the suits in this movie are very weird. For one, we have Riri William Ironheart, where she has two Iron Man suits. The first Iron Man heart suit is pretty cool. It's the janky, made from scrap metal thing. That's fine. But then the second one she makes, it kind of looks like a big toy. I don't know what's up with it, but it just looks like someone took an action figure and then sized it up. I don't know if it looks goofy or if it looks wrong or if it's okay. I don't know about it. And then the Midnight Angel, that one's kind of goofy. I don't know why, but seeing Okoye in the Midnight Angel suit just doesn't sound right. I feel like the Midnight Angel suits should be reserved for soldiers who aren't that experienced or who aren't that strong in battle, so they need something to back them up. With Okoye, knowing how strong she is, she doesn't need the suit, if anything. So, yeah. Another thing I'd mention, and this one I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for it, but the FBI chase scene plus the bridge fight that happens, almost at the halfway point of the movie, I am not the only one who found that boring, right? It can't just be me. I don't know. The FBI chasing was really boring. It just reminded me a lot of the first movie's car chase scene, except this movie just didn't do it quite as excitingly. Again, because no Black Panther in it, so that kind of is the reason why. But also the bridge fight was really boring. I remember there wasn't a lot of music, and there weren't a lot of interesting camera angles. It was just Okoye beating up the Talokan people, and it was okay. I mean, it looks kind of bland. I mean, they didn't even try to do anything fun. It was just kind of a bridge fight. I don't know. To me personally, that scene wasn't very interesting. It wasn't the best action scene, especially compared to the two others that come after it. Again, maybe it's just me, but who knows. Speaking of the Talokans, it's weird how they die. Because on the bridge, Okoye kills 5 of them, but they all regenerate. But then later on in the movie, Nakia kills 2 of them, and they straight up die. Which is weird because the 2 she kills later on are in their underwater city. So you'd think they'd have a better chance of surviving. But no, they straight up die. But the ones in the bridge just instantly regenerate. How do the Talokans regenerate? The movie never really explains that. It never really explains how they regenerate or how they're able to keep on fighting. And it just tells us it's as if we're supposed to know. We're supposed to assume to know how they regenerate. But no explanation I can come up with is enough to justify these 2 plot holes in the movie, Okay, but let's come back on to the pros, because I just have to mention some of them. For one, Mbaku. I love Mbaku. My God. Just as much as Okoye is my favorite version of the character in this movie. Baku is my favorite version of the character in this movie. He is so fun to watch. He is such a delight every time he comes up on screen. And second of all, I love how he always calls Nemo the fish man or the fish guy or something like that. Like, that is exactly how an African would say something weird they see. They would just call it by how they see it. It's just like the fish man. Like, there's this one scene where he like goes to fight Nemo, and it's just one of the funniest scenes in the movie. Mbaku is such a treasure. We need to protect this man. Another thing is that the comedy is actually like really good in this movie. I think I laughed in this serious film more than I did in Love and Thunder. Like, we have the scene with Riri, which I absolutely love, where it's Okoye, Shuri, and Riri. They're just making jokes with each other. I absolutely love that scene. And of course, Mbaku is just a delight every time he comes on screen. This movie, it's funny, but it doesn't have too many jokes about it. Because remember, this is supposed to be a serious film, so there aren't a lot of jokes throughout the movie. And when they do, they kind of hit you unexpectedly, which is what kind of makes them funny. So yeah, I really like the comedy in this film. And again, it's very spaced out. Like, the comedy in this film is rare. Like, very rare, especially by Marvel standards. I was even wondering, Marvel, are you good? Like, are you okay? Blink twice if you need help. You do not go this long without making a joke, you know? So yeah, Nemo's backstory and Talokan, again, I really think those two are cool. Nemo's backstory was really nice. I really like how they explain how the Talokans exist and how no one has seen them for the past 100 years, or why they chose to remain isolated. It's really cool. Really like that. A lot of people won't agree with me, but hey, it's what I think personally. And I also really like how they didn't kill him in the end. Shuri did not kill Nemo. And this is very cool because if you know Marvel, you know that they love to kill villains. Like, almost every movie of theirs has to result in a villain death. But here, Shuri did not kill Nemo. And they're saving him for future movies, which is very interesting. I know in like the comics he was a very big character. And like in the comics he was like T'Challa's big main arch nemesis. But here, Shuri showed restraint, which is, again, very impressive for an MCU movie. Because them refraining from killing a villain and saving them for later, that must have taken a lot of restraint. Same thing goes for the second post-credit scene. Yeah, there is no second post-credit scene. There we go. I'll save you some time. Don't bother to stay for the second post-credit scene. You're welcome. And yeah, so overall, those are all my notes on this movie. The pros, the cons, what I would change, what I think worked and what I didn't think worked. And of course, Chadwick Boseman, which of course I have to mention. So here we go. We're in the conclusion now. Overall, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a messy but very enjoyable and entertaining film that I would say is even on par with its predecessor. I don't know if it's better than the first Black Panther movie, but I can't say it's probably just as good. I'd have to go see like the first Black Panther movie again, but I'd say as of now it is just as good as the first one. This movie is a very emotional and respectful send-off to Chadwick Boseman, his legacy, his career, and of course the character he played. And I'm definitely looking forward to more in this franchise, especially now that they seem to have kind of got themselves corrected. They kind of know what they want to do now. So I'm very happy for it, and I'm excited to see more from the Black Panther side of the MCU. And I can safely say that this is a good conclusion to Phase 4 of the MCU, and it's a very good movie. About 8 out of 10. Why not? I think this movie is that good. So yeah, go watch Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I highly encourage it, especially if you're black. Please, guys, this is like the one few times we get big blockbuster representation. You cannot fail us now. So go watch Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Of course, tell me what you think about it in the comments down below, and I'll very much appreciate that. So guys, that's all from me today. Be sure to like if you like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that notification bell to be part of the team. Anyways, without further ado, I've been Captain Phoenix, and with that, I will see you in another universe. Wakanda forever, my Rangers. Wakanda forever.